document, including our Ghanaian brothers and sisters too. And that's Tony from Budumburam reaching us to us. And that's to our earlier conversation on the issue of street lights. I remember I told you yesterday, I drove all the way to Pidiase, just to check the area. And from the Yemenster toll booth all the way to Pidiase Lodge, the street lights there are not working, but we pay 3% to the ECG, VRA, and those agencies mandated to ensure they collect 3% of our monies. And at the end of the day, the lights are not working. You see the poles erected, but the bulbs are dead. Whose duty is it to ensure that we have lights on those street poles? Because it is that serious. I could count about 10 different curves on the Yemensa Brui all the way to Pudiase. 10 different curves, and all those curves are in total darkness. Let's see how things will go. Let me invite General Mosquito into the conversation. General, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
I hope you are doing well.
By God's grace.
Kindly help General push his microphone so that at least we'll be able to help him. Our listeners will be able to hear him loud and clear. It's good to have you in studio. It's a privilege to have you this morning.
It's my pleasure as well.
Great. So we know him as a politician. He is also a palm wine tapper from my village. We all come from the Bono region, so it's the bonus that we've met today. He's also a block man, moving blocks here and there. How is business? Block and palm wine tapping?
Oh, palm wine tapping was history. I've left that one.
Okay.
Long time.
No distilling?
No. I'm still into the blocks.
Okay.
My company is limping because of certain things I don't want to discuss.
Okay.
On air this morning.
Could it be sabotage?
Well, when we come to that, I can grant you another interview. On your business.
We may have to prepare for that one.
To divert
the conversation for today. So how is it like in the general life of a general secretary of the biggest opposition now, the biggest opposition party in Ghana, NDC? When you wake up in the morning, how is it like your daily life?
Well, the first thing you get through is phone calls with what I'll call media dictators. They will force you. They will force you. Everybody wants an interview and so on, and they want their cut without thinking about how many others will be calling you and so on. So it's always been hectic, and then after that, you think about the work you'll be doing in the office, and then others. Listen to the radio, review social media more, and so on. You don't actually get time to do everything fully.
Okay.
And so I'm aware that many people have been complaining that I don't, reply their WhatsApp messages and so on. It is practically impossible because if you are operating with several hundreds of, WhatsApp platforms. Even if you devote all your time reading, you can't read all the messages that come. Yes.
Okay.
And the same thing happens with respect to phone calls. Somebody calls you, and he may not be conscious that there are many other NDC people throughout the country wanting your attention. So those are the things we live through, but it's been exciting.
Interesting there. Join us on Facebook. It's Class 91.3 FM. Share the link. Invite people to be part of it. Normally, I would start some of these conversations with what is pertaining in the party, but today I want to change the order and start with Ghana. This is what belongs to all of us, and there is a project I'm embarking on called Fix Ghana Now. I think there are so many things missing, and we need to get Ghana working again. What do you make of the current happenings in the country under the Akufo-Addo-led administration? Let's start off with Dumso.
Well, I would say that the hens have come home to roost. because almost all the problems were, as it were, we saw them coming. But when we talked about them, people will not listen, because always people want to hear good stories. People want to harvest where they have not sown. So when it is easier for the population to respond to somebody who says, "Oh, come for freebies, come for freebies," without thinking about the fact that there is no free lunch in America. Everything would have to be paid for one way or the other. And at times, the cost could be higher and bigger than the returns. So it's like President Akufo-Addo's government specializes in sugarcoating things. They present the bait, you swallow it, before you are aware, you see that you are on a suicide mission. So this doomsaw, we saw it coming, and yet we went in with our eyes open.
How?
Because we've been there before, and President Mahama promised to fix it and make sure we don't get back there again. Concrete measures were put in place to ensure the realization of that vision. Unfortunately, Nana Addo came and decided to throw all that overboard, reverse all the gains in the power sector. And we kept warning that we are heading towards a bigger power crisis. Nobody will listen. Even where they haven't sown, they wanted to harvest. By the time before we went in the 2016 elections, the measures that had been put in place had started yielding fruits. And indeed, the doomsaw as we knew it had been solved. But people wanted to believe Bawumia because he kept repeating the lies. And even when he himself admitted that doomsaw had been solved, but NDC cannot take credit for it. He said it. When they won the elections, they started repeating the lies that they have solved doomsaw. They have solved doomsaw. For me, taking credit is not a big deal.
Okay.
But reversing the gains to take us back even beyond where we started from, it's my worry.
But General, we've heard the Energy Minister, Napo, saying that what we are experiencing now is not doomsaw. It is the ECG and Gridco constructing new substation, and they want to upgrade their system. That's what we're looking at.
I'll come to that.
We're having this challenge.
I'll come to that, but let me lay the foundation first, so that listeners will appreciate what I'm doing, the full story. So they began reversing the gains. First of all, the crisis in the power sector in those days had to do with inadequate generation capacity. It had to do with debt overhang, the fact that all the power sector agencies were under some financial stress and so on. So we needed to take very bold measures. And the fact also that there is a huge discrepancy between revenues that come in, vis-a-vis the cost.
Okay.
Anytime you have the cost in excess of revenues, somebody must pay the difference.
Sure.
So either you are able to push the revenues to match with the cost, or you must find a way of filling that gap. So these were very difficult challenges. And I remember we spent a lot of cabinet time in those days trying to figure out what will happen, because increasing revenues may, imply adjusting utility tariffs to the consumers and other things. Factories were in distress already, so adjusting tariffs may lead to closures and lack of expansion in businesses, which therefore affects unemployment. And so it's a very complex situation. But President Mahama decided to bite the bullet. So first, we adjusted the tariffs to close the gap between revenues and
expenditure.
So that we can help reduce the stress. But those tariffs could not be adjusted just once and for all to finish everything. So there was the need also to establish other taxes that will help us to clear the legacy debts in the power sector. So we established the energy sector levy.
The ESLA.
The ESLA.
Okay.
So by close of 2016, all the energy sector agencies have returned to blue, where their revenues were either balancing with the cost or above, in excess of cost. So because of the strength of their balance sheets, it was even possible for agencies to borrow on the strength of their own balance sheets. And so we knew that as for the financial distress, we are now coming out of it. And as I said, tariffs were also adjusted and all that. So then Baumia and Nanado entered with their populist, rhetoric. Mahama is a wicked president. He doesn't feel the suffering of the masses. That is why tariffs have been adjusted and all that. ESLA is a nuisance tax. It is going to be one of the first taxes to be abolished, and so on. And as I said, Ghanaians wanted to hear pleasant stories. They voted for them.
Now, wasn't it the case that Ghanaians were tired with the leadership of NDC, especially looking at the long period of enduring doomsday? They were tired.
We will come to that. You see, there is what do you call it? No matter how you call rose, it will still smell sweet. You understand?
Okay.
So you can't run away from the fact that if you are in leadership, you must take decisions that will guarantee the future development, growth, and prosperity of the nation, that will reflect in the lives of the people. Even if it means that certain decisions that you take today will bring some temporary hardship. If they are the right decisions, you must go for them. Otherwise, you go in to try to tell people, I don't want you to go through hardship. I don't want you to go through hardship. Then you are preparing them for a bigger hardship. You understand?
I do.
So we did this. We said that, look, over time, when you adjust tariff prices or tariffs, over time, the system adjusts. So when they took over, even if they had maintained the tariffs at that level, we wouldn't be in this mess. Because by the time they took over, the system had gradually adjusted to the new tariffs that had virtually closed this gap between expenditure and revenues and so on. So, and we're all expecting that more gas will come on stream, and that will help us bring the tariffs down in a sustainable manner. But it was a campaign promise. So they went in and reduced tariffs and lied to Ghanaians that they have renegotiated our gas prices and had made savings. That is why they are able to reduce tariffs. So the reduction of the tariffs was resisted by many institutions.
Ghanaians were happy.
Including, but we told them that this is temporary happiness. It will come to hurt you. The reduction of the tariffs did not last even 1 year. But the reduction of the tariffs led to accumulation of debt. When debt accumulates, it will earn interest. So the debts begin to compound. And then because the tariffs had been reduced, the strength of the balance sheets of some of the energy institutions,
those that we signed contracts with,
also went back. No, I'm talking
even
about
the ECG, VRA,
NETCO, GRIDCO, and so on. GRIDCO in particular. The problem we are having now is about transmission and distribution.
Okay.
Because Mahama solved the generation that was urgent in those days. Mahama solved it and dealt with the financial distress too. So that had positioned us to also do investments in transmission and distribution. If that had continued, we wouldn't be where we are now, because it is clear Mahama took steps to address the transmission and distribution problems. One major step was the dedication of the Millennium Compact to solving the problems within the power sector. And so it is within the compact that provision was made for these new developments that have been undertaken by GRIDCO. We were only fortunate that those ones started before the cancellation of the
Compact 2.
The Compact 2 thing. If it had not started, the problem will even be worse. Now, the rest of the funding that should go to distribution, power distribution, that was what the government operatives tried to manage in such a way that they will benefit. And that led PDS. And that led to this whole PDS saga, which forced them to cancel the deal, and for which reason the rest of the money didn't come. So as a result of this mismanagement, the French government, through, I think, Agent Français de Développement, they were funding they were going to fund some projects with some facility at GRIDCO. It was withdrawn.
Because of the PDS saga?
No, the tariff reduction, the PDS and other things. They were all withdrawn. So the result was that the management of GRIDCO, when they appeared before a parliamentary committee, they admitted that they would have to stop all their capital developments because they cannot get the monies to undertake the capital development. Now, if the capital development had to do with building new transmission lines and substations and so on, what are they for? To upgrade the system. So if there is a scheduled upgrade Every equipment has its own useful economic lifespan. So if you are getting to the end of your useful economic lifespan of some of the equipment, you need to begin the replacement process way before you get to the end of that lifespan. We couldn't do it. And so because of our own mismanagement, because we wanted to cut prices where prices didn't exist. And so we allowed this thing and said, Nyamibe, and went to sleep. So Gridco could not start some of the things that they should be starting. That's why they are now talking about obsolete equipment and so on. In every efficiently run business, you always have to anticipate the time your equipment will be obsolete and make provision for their replacement.
And that is the time that they've identified. So that's why they are doing the replacement and maintenance now.
So why is the doom so happening?
That's the question that we may have to find from the energy minister.
No. I know. Is the energy minister talking?
No.
They have all stopped talking. Baumia has stopped talking. And now they are pushing, public servants, poor public servants, to go and explain their mess.
They are the technocrats.
It is the technocrats who appeared before parliamentary committee and said that because of these decisions that have been taken by the politicians, we are going to enter this problem. And because they were technocrats, they couldn't do anything about it. But at least they had explained to the politicians that we are going to stop all the investment in this sector. And if we stopped, this will be the repercussion in 3-4 years' time. And the politicians didn't budge. They allowed the system to go in. So we went in with our eyes open, wide open. We went into this problem with our eyes wide open. So the technocrats are talking because they don't have any option, because they fear that if they don't talk, they will be sacked. And that is why they are talking. Some of the things they are saying don't even make engineering sense. But they are forced to do it to save their jobs.
Which includes?
This building of new substations and building new pylons with new power lines. They want us to believe that it is because of the building of these new substations and new pylons that they have been asked to put off the light once and a while. It doesn't make sense to anybody.
Explain, because
you see, in power distribution, I mean, is it the pylons they are building and the new power lines they are building for transmission? If they are intended to replace the old transmission lines, you build a new transmission line, new substations. Then after you have completed the new transmission lines and substations, you then switch onto the new lines. So the power will begin flowing in the new lines, and then the old lines are abandoned. Until you finish the construction, the new lines have nothing to do with the existing lines. So you don't need to put off light because you are constructing a new substation or building a new transformer anywhere. It is where you have finished and you have to now connect.
Okay.
That is where you have to put off the light and do the connection. And that should not be lasting for more than 1 week. You understand?
I do.
So if an engineer comes out to tell you that because we are building a new substation at Achimota or some other place, and because of that we are putting off the light, does it make sense to you? I want to charge you, the media, to go there to the construction site with your cameras and then ask the questions. How would this construction interfere with the existing lines if you haven't finished to a point of switchover? You understand?
I do.
So it's like you are riding in a bus, a VIP bus. Then the bus stops somewhere because of a fault, maybe engine fault or tire problem. You ask why the bus has stopped and is waiting. You say the owner of the VIP is acquiring a new bus.
It has no link.
That is why we have stopped. It has no link. It is after the acquisition that it will start replacing the old ramshackle bus and be carrying passengers. But you are not there yet. And you want us to believe that because you are building new pylons, you haven't completed, we haven't come to the point of switchover from the existing lines to the new lines, and yet you say that you have been advised to put off the power once a while in the old lines. It is because of the fact that we have overshot the time for the maintenance and other things, and the machines are breaking down. And we knew the scheduled dates. And because we wanted cheap popularity, the type of investment that we needed to put in, we decided to go to sleep over it. And that is why we are where we are.
Would you support the call by Ghanaians for the ECG and Gridco to give us a timetable so that these people prepare? Because they are saying it's not doing so, they're just doing maintenance work.
I support the call to the government, not to Gridco or anybody. Because you see, Dumso, have you ever seen Dumso in any engineering textbook?
No.
Dumso is not an engineering term. It is a political term that was coined by the politicians. So why are you now calling engineers to come and explain what is Dumso and what is not Dumso? They didn't learn about Dumso anywhere in their courses. It is Baumia and his people who coined Dumso, so they have to come to explain what Dumso is.
If you have to go by their
And
terms,
Dumso, at least I understand that Dumso is a tree phrase. Dum naso. Dum means put the light off. So means put the light on. That's all. This was coined by politicians. And when it was coined and put on the neck of the government at that time, we were trying to explain the reasons why the lights were going on and off. MPP and the public were not prepared to listen to the reasons. All they knew was the light was going on and the light was coming off. You understand? So what has changed? What has changed now? Is the light still not going off and on? So the reasons, as far as we are concerned, cannot explain Dumso. Dumso is not an engineering term, it's a political term. So if in 2016 we're not interested in listening to the causes of the Dumso, why should we be listening to the causes of the Dumso from the engineering standpoint now? And at that time, even when we were explaining that, look, part of the problem had to do with generation, part of the problem had to do with the gas that was not flowing from Nigeria and all that. They said it was all incompetence.
And that has to do with political leadership.
Yes, complete political leadership. So the politicians should not go and hide.
Okay.
They should come and explain their own term, Dumso. And the explanation they gave was that Dumso means lights going on, lights coming off. And so now they cannot call the engineers who did not study Dumso in any of their textbooks to come and explain to us what Dumso means.
Okay, General. Let's move on because we have a lot to talk about today. If you check your time, it's some 17 minutes after 9. You have been engaging the General Secretary of the NDC, General Mosquito. Student gets here. Join us on Facebook, is Class 91.3 FM. Instagram is Class 91.3 FM. Twitter is Class 913 FM. On YouTube is Class Media Group. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us with your thoughts. You have a question for him. Our WhatsApp number is 0500,000 202. Drop your questions over there. I'll ask him in due time. Since we mentioned political leadership, let me then start from the camp of the NDC, a party you belong to, and your grassroots have not been happy with how the leadership of the party have conducted themselves from the time you went into the 2020 elections to today. Let me start with the aftermath of the 2020 elections. You went to court, and people felt that the NDC had no better case because you were just relying on the evidence or testimony that Gina Dokwe-Mensah was going to give to build your case.
I believe that you have chosen yourself as the representative of the people. Because I didn't get that sense among Ghanaians. Ghanaians are disappointed. And that is why when the verdict came, the nation went quiet.
Ghanaians are disappointed.
Completely disappointed in what happened at the Supreme Court.
I think a bit of their disappointment had to do with the fact that the justices of the Supreme Court didn't allow Madam Gina Dokwe-Mensah to testify because they wanted some clarity. But I don't think they were disappointed with the preparation of the NDC going to court and after the court.
No. Why were they disappointed when if you claim they were disappointed when the justices didn't allow the Mensah to testify? How would they be disappointed in that, and they will still be disappointed in what the preparation of NDC? Because our case was that this is the referee of the elections, who for the first time in our history has declared 6 different types of results. So nobody in the country knew what the real results were. So call the person to come and explain to us that yes, indeed, this man won, this man lost. And the court says they cannot come. That was the cause of Ghanaians' disappointment. So even MPP people don't believe that Nana Akufo-Addo won.
How?
There's significant session of the NPP. Because if you won, your victory will be cleaner if the referee is allowed to explain the basis of your winning and the fact that several results were declared and kept changing and so on. So it's the dent on whatever victory, quote unquote, that Nana Akufo-Addo claims he had won, because within his party, not everybody believes that they won, because they knew there was something wrong. And
these are people that confided in the NDC or knew to and it's giving them indication.
They are all in the social media talking on the airwaves and so on. MPP people, because they say, if we have won elections, why are we not allowing the referee to come and speak for us and put the figures out and justify them so that our victory will look cleaner than it is? So their own people don't believe it. And then that is why nobody is happy about whatever happened at the Supreme Court.
General, did the NDC collect their own results?
No court. I have never seen any court where you have unanimity of reasoning from A to Z, delivering several interim judgment to final judgment and everything unanimous.
They wanted to set a precedent.
Even in the military court martial, they don't do that. And they're saying that every one of them had the same opinion on everything. That's why I kept I keep quoting Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
Because individuals are different. There are no two individuals that are identical.
Mm.
So where you see two people agreeing all the time, one is a liar.
And in this time, we don't know who the liar is.
Yes. But at least I'm sure if this situation was presented to Malcolm X, he will say that 6 will be liars out of a panel of 7. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
If this situation were presented to Malcolm X, that is what he will be. That could be his answer. So nobody is happy about the way, because you see, we are heading. We always, it seems as if we are on some suicide mission.
Mm.
We are all worried about election conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to address a problem, you tackle the problem from the causes.
Mm.
Remove the causes. Because when you go to hospital, why would you have to be taken to a lab? They want to understand the causes of the disease so that they can apply the right medication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if it is true that this nation is worried about electoral violence,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to work to remove electoral violence from our democracy, then we should be tackling the root causes. One of the root causes is lack of transparency in the electoral process. We have worked on this problem of transparency over the years to a point where we thought we had almost arrived.
Mm.
And then somebody enters the fray, decides to change commissioners, virtually instructing commissioners to do whatever they liked, and got the courts reconstituted in a manner that they will be giving full support of the wrongdoing of commissioners to be conducting elections the way they chose.
Are you accusing the
When we have
president
come to where
of
we
this?
are,
Are you accusing the president of sacking
so
commissioners,
who else could be accused?
appointing
Why
judges?
should anybody hold the responsibility for the actions of the president?
Remember in 2013, they said the elections are won at the polling station.
Kanaland, I don't want us to divert this whole discussion because you have put a lot of
Issues together.
issues on the table.
Sure.
If we have to come and discuss elections,
Sure.
that's how we will go into why we said elections are won
At the polling stations and all those kind of things.
That alone will take more than 2 hours.
Okay.
So
we're just trying
I don't
to.
want us to go into all those
Okay.
nitty-gritties because
Okay.
it will take time.
Sure.
But I'm saying that we had a robust system
Mm-hmm.
at a point where we could say that yes, elections are won at the polling station, and that commissioners could not influence the elections.
Mm-hmm.
It meant that there were checks, legal checks, administrative checks, and so on. So if somebody comes on board and removes all those checks, a lion whose teeth had been removed and whose claws had been removed, can't you catch that lion and kill it?
You can.
That is the point. So if you have an electoral commission where all the checks, the legal checks, administrative checks, and whatever have all been removed, then it doesn't represent the lion again.
So
It's worse than the sheep.
this is more like a stolen verdict.
It's worse than the sheep. So I'm saying that the causes
Mm-hmm.
of electoral violence and electoral misunderstanding
Mhm.
is one, lack of transparency and lack of accountability of the electoral administrative, electoral management body. And we seem to have reinforced this. We seem to have, through these court processes and others, we seem to have said that, look, electoral commission can do anything without explaining anything to anybody. So we are preparing the grounds for people not to be accountable for their actions. For processes not to be transparent. And if you feel they are not transparent, nobody answers your questions. So what happens? You resort to your own designs. Number 2, post-elections adjudication is very, very critical in preventing electoral violence. Because when you are being cheated in elections, your hope is that, look, I won't resort to any violence because I can count on the courts. If somebody is even cheating me now, and I all that I need to do is to take all the necessary precautions and complete the necessary processes. I don't have to go and use my own energy and strength to fight and prevent the person physically from doing A or B or C. Because at the end of the day, if he cheats and even the wrong results are declared in his favor, there are the courts there that can reverse those ones and make sure that justice prevails and I'll get what I want through the court. If we are gradually moving to a system where the belief is sinking in the psyche of Ghanaians that elections is survival of the fittest, it does not matter how you get there. The end justifies the means.
The Machiavellian tactics.
It is a dangerous path we are walking.
That is understood, General.
So that is why we are worried about this. It's not about being in power. It's about holding people accountable for their work. After all, if the things have been done transparently, somebody will win, somebody will lose anyway. It is about how we hold our systems accountable. But if we contribute in making our systems opaque, in devaluing the credibility of the systems, and we still want people to believe in it and to act with the belief that the systems will protect them, people will defend themselves because self-preservation is the first law of nature.
All right.
If societies are built, somebody I've forgotten said that even though the instinct of gregariousness is innate in the human being, the first person to build society must be praised because human beings are the best of animals when they are when there is law and order. Okay. But they become the worst of animals when there is no law and order.
The point,
law and rule of law from any system, you are working towards pushing people to exhibit their worst innate tendencies.
Okay.
That is why law and order is important.
I get that point, and I guess what would you say of those that one or the other accuse the NDC of one contributing to their own defeat in the elections because they felt the party was ill prepared, and just even after the elections till today, the NDC can't come out with their own collated results. Mind you, there were some kids who were having this peaceful march or walk at the Kaukudi area, calling on the party to make public the total number of figures the NDC had. And I want to ask you, did the NDC prepare their own collated results, and where can we find it?
The basis of your question is wrong. First, you are saying that some people,
they call themselves cadres. They are part of the party, grassroots supporters.
They are not part of the party. They are busybodies working in the streets.
They are not part of your party.
They are not part of our party. So if I sit here and take a name that I am disgruntled person in MPP, does that make me MPP?
These are persons in your party.
They are not.
Colours.
Let them come out and tell me the basis of their membership. None of them is an NDC person.
Not even a sympathizer.
I wouldn't know, because sympathy is in your head and in your heart. But I'm saying for a fact that none of those people are NDC people. And we cannot allow ourselves to be dictated to by non-NPP. Let me ask you some questions.
Go ahead.
Are we not in COVID?
We are in a COVID system, yes.
Are we not expected to, observe COVID protocols?
Mm-hmm.
Did the IGP and the security not descend on NDC people who were protesting about electoral commissions changing of resource?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't it happen?
It did, including your members of parliament.
So what is happening? And even beating members of parliament. What is the IGP doing to those guys?
You want them arrested?
No, I'm asking you. Or they are operating in a different country? Are they operating in a different country?
No, they are in Ghana. So far, the IGP has not said anything about them.
What has the Minister of Interior said about it? So it tells you where they are coming from. It tells you where they are coming from.
So you suspect these are pro-NPP members disguised as disgruntled NDC people trying to defame your party?
Because they are not NDC people. And they are they are claiming to be NDC people. Whose interests are they serving? If they go out there with placards insulting Mahama, whose interests are they serving?
Their own party, because they are not happy.
It's not their party. They are not serving NDC's interests. Don't they have the party constitution? Mm-hmm. If they are real party people, they know the party's constitution and they know the way we address grievances in our party. So people who get out there with placards insulting Mahama, insulting everybody in the party, they do it during COVID period. No security talks about it. Nobody minds them. And we have come out to say they are not NDC. And yet, they are free to breach all the COVID protocols. What does it tell you? It tells you that they are the friends of the system.
Interesting.
So, and they cannot give us instructions.
I have a lot of questions here from our listeners. I'll be asking you some of them. But,
and every member of the party, every proper member of the party knows our results because they exist at branches. And every branch of the party has their results.
So if I go to any of the branches, I'll get the figures?
No, I'm saying that the branch executive, they are the people who bring us the results in Accra. So are you saying that the branches in NDC throughout the country, they don't have their branches?
They do. Give me the national
if
figure.
They have their figures and they bring them to me. Why should they go there demonstrating? Has any of them come out to demonstrate that their figures are right or wrong?
They want to have a national figure. like how...
I am saying that they are not NDC people. Because every constituency has their results. Every region has their results. And the regions attend national meetings. And they brought us the results. And we have put the results together. So if anybody jumps into the streets claiming that NDC does not have the results, where are the results coming from? They are not NDC people. And the name they gave to themselves. Do you know the youngest cadre in 1979? Check how many years?
79 to this now is 80. That means
or if we come to 81.
81, that's like almost 60 plus years now.
60 plus years now. So no, it cannot be 60 plus.
So if you are doing 57, we are 64. So 81 will be around like 35, 36 years now.
35 years now of the revolution. You couldn't have
Class 91.3 FM.
18 years. Add 18 years to 35. where does it put you?
So these are not cadres, and they shouldn't hold themselves as
and
such.
And then look at the ages of those people who are going around there saying that they are cadres. We have a cadre, an organization that represents the cadres. These are not cadres of the revolution. What do they know about the revolution? What do they know about the party? They are not NDC people at all. So don't let any NDC person to be fooled by what they do. They are. I want to believe that they are rented, demonstrators. They are not.
Let's still stay within the NDC. Over the weekend, the communications officer of the party, Sami Jemfi, mentioned at the University of Cape Coast, where 10 people met, that, of course, the elections were stolen, and your party flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, is coming back in 2024. Is he coming?
I don't know.
There's never been a conversation around that Mahama is going to lead the party again in 2024.
Conversation at the party level or with President Mahama?
At the party level.
The party level doesn't discuss those things. We put systems in place and invite people who want to be presidential candidates to come and file. We haven't been there yet.
What about the personal level?
Discussing it with President Mahama.
Yes, any inclination that you'll be coming back.
If I discuss something with President Mahama, why do you want me to come and talk to the media about it?
But do you have that inkling that Mahama may want to lead the party again in 2024?
Oh, well, he was one of the people who contested the presidential primaries and won, and proceeded to lead the party in the general election. And the party claims he did not lose. So if he decides to come back, there is nothing within the party that disqualifies him.
Okay.
Mind the same way, there are others who lost the primaries. None of them, abandoned their obligation to support the winning candidate. They were all on board the campaign. So if they decide, any of them decides to come back, it's also welcome. Apart from that, there may be people who felt that they were not ready in 2020. So they want to try in for the 2024 elections. So long as they qualify according to the party's constitution, they will be allowed to contest.
Okay.
The party does not impose candidates, or the leadership of the party. We don't impose candidates. We allow the structures to make their decisions, and we implement the decisions.
Okay. So it's far different from what your other colleagues are doing. If you go to the NPP, Baumia, Alan, confusion now.
I want to believe that those who have contracted themselves to be constructing pairs of possible tickets for NDC, maybe their objective is to plant the same confusion that is emerging in MPP, also in NDC. But they are wrong. NDC will not swallow that type of bait, because we believe in the systems that deliver our candidates and our running mates for us. And I must add that our candidates and running mates are not selected at television stations. So if I saw one television person trying to do analysis and putting pairs together, and I saw I was paired with President Mahama. Guzi was paired with Bagbin. Somebody was paired with somebody.
Also in there.
They are all disingenuous ways of sowing seeds of discord within our party. So, if he chooses to do that analysis, he should come up and say that this is coming from his own hallucinations. It's not coming from anybody within NDC. It's not coming from anybody within NDC. So I am using this medium to advise all our party rank and file to ignore those suggestions and still have trust in our well-established systems of choosing
Class
our flag bearer
91.3 FM.
and our running mate.
So if I get you right, you're making reference to Paul Adomocho of Metro TV.
Yes. You see, what what makes his analysis funny was that, before 2020 elections, you all know that my name was being mentioned, other names were being mentioned for possible running mate and so on. The same Paul Adomocho remarked that I was not fit for anything at all. So what has changed? For him now to come and try to sow seeds of discord. Why? 2020. Didn't President Mahama go with a running mate? And has President Mahama told anybody that in case he decides to go and wins the election, he wants to change his running mate? In all that analysis, where did Paul Adomocho put Professor
Nano
Poku-Agyeman?
Yeah.
And this, where did Adomocho put Professor Alabi? You see, after the elections, there have been several attempts to malign Professor Agyeman and Professor Alabi. I don't know. I remarked in one of our meetings that the way I'm seeing people intentionally targeting people within our party, I am tempted to believe that if you are not a professor, then you are immune from that attack. That's why they are not coming after me. So I told Professor Ahoy that I know after Professor Jane and then Professor Alabi,
they are coming to him.
They are coming to Professor Ahoy, and then from there they go to Professor Buche.
Okay.
You see, it suggests some subtle attempt to just malign people unnecessarily within our party and then cause people to be fighting each other. If that is his agenda, tell him NDC will not swallow that bait. NDC will not swallow that bait.
This is Class 91.3 FM. It is 45 minutes after 9. The next 15 minutes, we'll be wrapping up the conversation. I'll use the last 10 minutes to read some of the messages and respond to the questions you've sent in so far. Still add yours to it on 0500,202 on WhatsApp. On Facebook is Class 91.3 FM. Join the feed on Facebook and on YouTube as well as Class Media Group. Feel free to join us. So far, we've had a lot of conversation around governance. We've talked about the NDC structure and how things are, at least now. Gino has made it clear that if John Mahama decides to come, there are structures within the party that allows him to contest again. But whatever personal conversation he has had with him, he can put that on radio, and that is made clear. Let's look at the first 3 months of the MPs in Parliament. I just want to assess how the Speaker of the House has fared so far, and especially on the conduct of the members of the minority. Along the line, there were rumors that the party is putting in measures to change the leadership in the House. Was that true? How far has that gone? And is it going to happen?
The party has never said anywhere that they are putting in.
That's why I said
measures.
rumor.
But you know that during a champion's time, there was a law against rumor mongering. You could have been jailed at that time. You see, people have sought to twist some interview I had granted.
Mm-hmm.
And in that interview, I had said that after every general election, because you cannot have parliament constituted exactly the same way before the general election.
Mm-hmm.
There are always changes in the composition of the membership of parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Some are marginal and some are very drastic.
Mm-hmm.
And so our practice has been that after every general election, we take a review at our leadership in parliament.
Mm.
The review may lead us into making changes. The review may lead us into confirming those who are there. But the review must happen. And so for this particular period, we had started the review. And the review is not done outside the membership. The review is done with the members. Okay. So we had started the engagement with the members to a certain point. But the review was not completed when we chose to go to court.
Mm.
And so, whilst in court, we decided that we may win, we may not win.
Okay.
But whatever the verdict, it will have
Class 91.3 FM.
an impact on how we review the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if we won, the law requires us to pick more than half of our ministers from parliament.
Sure.
So the selection of ministers vis-a-vis leadership of parliament will be much more complex than if
losing the
elections. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let us go there. And if we had completed the process and we had won, then we may have to go and do some changes and so on. So let us wait and know our fate after the elections, after the court process. Then we will come and continue the process.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have finished the court case. We know our fate, even though we disagree. We would have to go and complete the process. Otherwise, we are in a state of, if you like, indecision. I mean, in a state where nobody is sure about what will happen.
Mm.
If you put your leaders in that situation and you expect them to perform with confidence and courage, you'll be disappointed. Because any decision they are taking, they will be looking over their shoulders. And my position is acting. So what do I do? If I take this, will it not offend this man? If I did this, will it not help my exit and so on?
Mm.
So the leaders will not have the confidence to exercise leadership authority because they are not sure about their future.
Okay.
On the other hand, there may be, in every situation in politics, there is ambition everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There are people within the caucus who also aspire to become leaders.
Mm.
So they will also be conducting themselves in such a way that they may, come to limelight or catch the eye of whoever's eye had to be caught, so that they get the chance of becoming leaders. So in that situation, if you are not careful, some of their actions may amount to sabotaging the leaders so they can upstage them. So it doesn't help anybody if we left the situation like this without clarifying matters and bringing matters to definitive conclusions. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to continue the engagement and then to complete the process of review.
Okay.
If the review takes us to a decision where there must be changes, there will be changes. If the review takes us to a situation where we must confirm the existing leadership, we will proceed to confirm the existing leadership.
So now they are acting.
Technically, that is what it means. But we cannot allow that situation to remain. Because, you see, you know why policing has run into difficulties now? The challenges we are having in
as a nation.
Country. Policing, the head of the police service, the head of the military, they are all in acting position. They have exceeded their retirement age, and they are there.
Okay.
And nobody sees them. We can only see the Auditor General. And so when you have an Inspector General of Police who is past his retirement age, who is there at the pleasure of the president, and so he makes himself available to be dictated to by anybody he thinks can help to still keep him there. So it doesn't give the person the confidence to do the work, because policing has to be done with blind eyes, without looking at, who is this, who is that, and so on. That is why we are where we are, and we are having very serious challenges with our law enforcement and other things, because people who know that, well, there is selective justice, there is this. It's because of some of these uncertainties.
Okay.
So we would not allow the uncertainty to prevail and grow. So that is what I can say about the leadership.
The leadership in Parliament.
Somehow, some of the media people felt that they should cut the part that says that we will take a decision whether to maintain or to change, and they took the change and ran away with it, and they are pleasing themselves about it. It doesn't change our position.
So when is this review coming off?
Come again?
The review. Say we're going to complete the review.
Yes.
When is it coming off? Any time frame which you are working with?
In fact, we are already in the process.
Okay.
And we want to conclude it before Parliament resumes.
Are you going to see a likely change in the leadership?
1.3
I don't
FM.
know. You cannot get an answer before you go to look for the formula.
But
It is the formula that leads you to an answer.
okay, so let's see. But still, because you are still in Parliament, I still want to stay with you, because now you are what the parliamentary seven board.
Yes.
And I remember proud to your name coming out. We had your own colleague, Osei Chairman Sabonsu, majority leader, wasn't happy with your selection. Do you have any personal grudges with him?
No, he has never been happy about my selection. But I'm not about doing things that will make him happy. I don't live my life by by taking decisions that will make Chairman Sabonsu happy. So that is not my worry at all. So if he is not happy about it, that's his own cup of tea. It has nothing to do with me. And the decision, I didn't appoint myself. The decision was taken by Right Honorable Speaker Bagben. And it's like if I were appointed a minister and I come for vetting and you ask me, why were you appointed? Why didn't the president appoint another person instead of you? How am I supposed to answer? Because the decision was taken by the president. So this decision was taken by Right Honorable Speaker Bagben. And Chairman Sambo, I've heard him on radio stations, making warped arguments to justify his position. I'm not surprised, because it is typical of MPP to take decisions before going to look for the reasoning. So he has a decision that they don't like me to be on the Parliamentary Service Board, and they are now shopping for the reasons. I've heard some reasons like first they said no. I'll be too busy as a general secretary to go and do that work. So the work at the board would take away much of my time, so that I'll not be effective as a general secretary. I said, if you are an MPP and I'm NDC general secretary, we are your main opponents. Shouldn't that make you happy? That the general secretary is engaged in, of my opponent, is engaged in some other things that will make him unavailable to handle his party well, so we can win. Shouldn't it make Chairman Sambunsu happy if that is the reason? You understand? So after some time, they seem to be abandoning that argument, because you see, the truth of the matter is that there was a point in time where I was handling the chairmanship, not a membership of a board, a chairmanship of the board of Bui Power Authority. And I was doing most of the work on the site in Brongahafu, not even in Accra. And I was the chairman. At the same time, I was a member of cabinet too. So I was attending cabinet meetings and then attending my board meetings, and still was effective as the general secretary.
You did all that?
Yes. So now, if I'm a general secretary, I cannot take on additional responsibility as a board member, not a board chairman. So they know that the argument has no legs to stand on. So they have abandoned that one. Then they came talking about my competence and so on, and my capability of handling those things. I said, why should they be talking about my capability? Before Abraham was, I am. I participated in writing the constitution that created parliament. And all the other structures, other institutions, presidency, judiciary, everything. I participated in writing the framework that created all that. And after that, I proceeded to become a member of parliament. And I was a member of parliament 4 clear years before Chairman Sambunsu contested primaries. At the time I was leaving parliament, I was among the longest serving members of parliament. But I decided, after 12 years, look, I've operated on government backbench, government front bench, opposition backbench, opposition front bench. There was nothing more. I've chaired committees before. I've been ranking member before. So there was nothing more for me to learn in parliament. So let me go and apply that accumulated experience in running my party. And that was how I left and became, I was never defeated by anybody in any elections. Okay. And luckily, since I became general secretary too, in all my re-elections, I consistently win more than 80% of the votes.
1.3 FM.
So, and I have chaired a board of a state-owned organization before and all.
So this is a job you can easily do.
I'm vice president of Socialist International, an international body with about 160 political parties all over the world. Europe, Latin America, Asia, and all that. I've been vice chairman for 3 years. So if anybody sits here and thinks that I cannot be a mere member of Parliamentary Service Board, I just don't understand. And then after that, they have Chairman San has now moved away from that, and he's now saying, "Oh, I can contribute to this. I can." Do you know that my dissertation was based on Parliament when I was doing my masters? It was based on Parliament, how Parliament can act as the most important anti-corruption fulcrum
Mm.
in the anti-corruption infrastructure under the Fourth Republic. That was my dissertation when I was doing my master's. So they now are convinced that they can't talk about my set of experiences that can help Parliament. And now they have shifted and they are thinking and they are talking about undue politicization
Or the structures of
Parliament.
Of Parliament. But talking about
Who said that Parliament is not already politicized? Parliament is the venue, the arena for multi-party politics. When there is a coup d'etat and political parties are banned, Parliament is banned. But there is always judiciary, there is always executive. So Parliament is where multi-party is practiced. So you can't say that, you are separating coal from Newcastle.
Okay. You mentioned corruption. I just want to find out from this from you. Are you corrupt?
Me?
Yes.
No. I don't understand the type of corruption you are talking about, but that one too will take us a lot of time to discuss, because if you understand the meaning of corruption and the implications of corruption, you realize that it is very, very difficult to escape the net of corruption technically. But the corruption that we know about in Ghana,
Class 91.3 FM.
I would say I'm not. Nobody is perfect, but I don't do wrong things knowingly.
Okay. We're wrapping up the conversation shortly. A lot of messages in here, a lot of issues to talk about as well. Let me just take some messages, General, and then we'll wrap up the conversation. I know you have a lot of things to do today. Let me start off with some of the messages I've had. This one wants to find out from you whether or not, should the NDC come to power in 2024, you're going to kind of cap or reconstitute the Supreme Court to either 9-11, at least cut it in terms of those that can sit on a case. If you want to pick this question for me straight away.
Oh, I thought you were asking all the questions.
Okay, okay. So then let's do that one. This one, right? Good morning to you, sir. What General is doing is just to massage our bruised images and faith in the great NDC party. The worst of it is for him to arrogantly denounce persons who are calling for an audit of the party's showing and coalition pink sheets in the December 2020 presidential elections. General and the party leadership should be sensitive to our low morale and apologize to us for appearing in court with no tangible evidence, just relying on Jezebel Jen Mensah for cross-examination. And that's one of the party members asking for apology from the leadership of the party because you had no tangible evidence when you went to court. General Mosquito should be president of Ghana. Tell him to ignore these detractors called NPP. He should support Mr. Speaker to deliver his role perfectly in Parliament. More grease to his elbows. Oforiwa in his support sent in that message. Let me read this one also. So, good morning to you, Kofi. I'm Samuel from Tema West. Please tell my boss, General Mosquito, that we Tema West NDC constituency said they should change Tema West communication officer Henry Obo, because he is a stomach politician and he's always giving information to the NPP. There is a claim we cannot substantiate, but let's see how the party will react to that. Senna writes, good morning, Kofi. Please say hello to our dearly beloved General Secretary, General Mosquito, for me. Please ask him how many votes our beloved flag bearer, JM, obtained against Nana Akufo-Addo, our president, by default. This will put paid to the perception that the NDC didn't have collated results and so wanted to depend on Jemenson's evidence in court to prosecute our election petition in the Supreme Court. A lot of questions, but let's pick these and then we'll continue later on.
Yeah, I guess you were right in initially asking me to answer the capping of the Supreme Court, because many of the other questions that have been asked,
so
repeating the same thing.
Sure. Yeah. But the Supreme Court bit, should the NDC come in power to 2024, are we going to see some changes? Are we going to cap the number of people that will be appointed in there?
We will try to complete the constitutional review process.
Okay.
I think that the constitutional review process was undertaken in a bipartisan manner. Unfortunately, when power changed hands, MPP decided to abandon that whole review process and started picking and choosing what they would do in order to tilt the playing field in their favor. We will go back and look at the review of our constitution. And fortunately, the recommendations are there already. And since you asked me about the Supreme Court, Nana Akufo-Addo was interviewed. And he insisted and agreed that the Supreme Court ought to be capped at 15. Unfortunately, when he had the opportunity to become president, he rushed to appoint more in excess of the number he recommended when he was in opposition. So that has put us far in excess of the capping that had been anticipated by the constitutional review process. That introduces new challenges.
Sure.
When we come to power and we revisit the constitutional amendment process, we will all be confronted with what happens, because the original proposal was that let's cut it at 15, but now we are at 18 or so, 19 or so. What do we do as a nation? You understand? And there may be several ways of going about it. When I was in Agric, we were licensing fishing trawlers. We at some point realized that there was overfishing because there were too many trawlers. And ships are not things that you can go and carry and take it away from the sea. So we adopted a freeze on federal licensing so that we can wait as ships get older and decommissioned. Then the numbers were reducing. So that's one way out. If we still believe that we must come to 15 or even to 9, because in US I believe they are 9.
They are 9.
Big country like this. If we have to do that, then one way out may be to
wait for them to retire.
And make sure that judges are not replaced as they retire, and until we get to the number that
Class
satisfies the
91.3
constitutional,
FM.
amendment, if that is what the nation requires. So
Okay.
my short answer is that when we come back to power, we will look at the constitutional review report and then try to make progress with it, because our constitution needs serious and urgent review. So that's what we
That's what you say. You know, there's a campaign we've waged here at Class FM. There are a whole lot of issues affecting this nation. And when you think about them, you wonder, what kind of leadership do we have now? Does Ghana need fixing?
Yes, it does. Otherwise, we will not be campaigning. We don't have the right leadership. And we think that is why we think that we should change Nana Akufo-Addo as quickly as possible. Because these past 4 years has represented a destruction, a backwards movement for the country. A destruction of the gains, political, democratic gains, economic gains, social gains, and we have rolled back a lot of progress that had been made already. I was reading somewhere this morning that Ghana has been downgraded back into low-income country.
Yes.
If it happens to be true, it's very sad. But it's still, evidence that we have rolled back the progress, because we were sometime there as a low-income country. We made progress. At some point, we became the fastest growing economy under Professor Mills in the whole world. Now we are back to the status quo ante. So where are we going? One step forward, 2 steps backwards. When you take social life and morality and so on. There's so much moral decadence. Look, have you ever heard in the history of this country that young boys, 18 and below, will go and kill their fellow for ritual purposes to make money?
No.
What does it tell you? It tells you that we are going to hand over this country, if we are not careful, if we don't make the right changes now. The next generation of Ghanaians that we are going to produce, if you are in doubt, take the children we have now, add the school curriculum they are studying, and
Class
add
91.3 FM.
experiences they are picking within the system. When you put this together, it will give you an idea of the next generation of Ghanaians who will inhabit this earth. And it is very, very dangerous. It's scary. Look at the school curriculum. Look at how we have messed up with our secondary education to an extent that people will go to school, and once they arrive at the school compound, they are told that reopening has been postponed for another 3 weeks, and so on. What type of people are we breeding? You know. So everything now is in thoughts. Electricity in thoughts, education in thoughts, water in thoughts, everything, thoughts. So the country is going in the wrong direction. Completely wrong direction. At least some of the institutions in this country had come to a point that people had confidence in them. Democracy is about having confidence in institutions. Tell me one institution in this country where Ghanaians can boldly say that they have confidence in. Go and look at the survey reports of various NGOs, NCCs, and so on, and look at the level of confidence Ghanaians have in their institutions now. So if we have eroded all the confidence in our state institutions, where are we going?
Serious fixing needs to be done.
Yes.
And I think the NDC is the party that will be able to do just that.
That is the party, because our records are there. When you take now corruption, you can't mention corruption. You can't mention corruption. Because, look, when NDC, with all the noise about Mahama is corrupt, oh, this one is corrupt, oh, Mahama's record has not been surpassed by any government in this country as far as anti-corruption is concerned. The records are there. Mahama's record of tolerance and free speech has never been exceeded by any other government in this country. We are sitting here by one stroke. Somebody closed down more than 100 radio stations in this country. Everybody is quiet. By one stroke.
Class 91.3 FM.
Senior journalists has been killed. Others have been cowed into silence. Nothing is happening. Faith-based organizations cannot talk. The people who should represent the conscience of our country are all quiet. And I like to quote Stephen Levitsky, who said that this is how elected autocrats subvert democracy. They begin by packing and weaponizing the courts and other neutral agencies, then buying off the media and private sector or bullying them into silence, and rewriting the rules of politics to tilt the playing field against opponents. And he ended by saying that the tragic paradox of the electoral route to authoritarianism is that democracy's assassins use the very institutions of democracy to gradually and even legally to kill it. This is Stephen Levinsky in his book called How Democracies Die. What are we witnessing in the country now? What are the institutions that promote democracy? The media, the courts, the NCCs, anti-corruption institutions and all that, human rights organizations and so on. Auditor General's office and all this to ensure accountability, parliament and so on. These are the very institutions that have now been weaponized in Ghana, and they are being used to kill democracy.
If you decide to stay here, we'll be here the whole day. Under 30 seconds, I pray you've seen this video of Reverend Usubempa circulating on social media, indicating that if Mahama may want to come back and lead the NDC, he may have to come and see him, at least to be able to do certain things for him.
Well, I haven't bothered to look at the video because I don't believe in certain things, so I don't follow those things. When people say go to Benin and get medicine to win elections, and so you ask yourself, do people lose elections in Benin or they don't? They say go to India to get this. So those ones, they can continue.
They can continue
to be operating in that field. I'm not in that field, so I don't want to be part of it.
General, I'm grateful for joining us this morning. Let's end our conversation here. You heard me speak to the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Student Ketia. Apologies to you. We've done more than our time. We did extra 18 minutes after 10. Grateful for joining us. A lot of messages. Sorry I couldn't read all, but let's still keep on having the conversation on our various social media platforms. On Class is 91.3 FM. On Facebook, on Twitter is Class 913 FM. And a lot of issues that were discussed. I'm grateful for your company. My name is Kofi Oponasamwa. To the entire production team, thanks a lot for joining us and with your support. To Nimama, Dina Koto, Robert Israel, Laura, Janice, Edith, to Ohene Isaac on the socials and the entire news team. I'm grateful for the support. Coming up is the Touch of Class with Natalia. We'll get in there with good music and good talk. It's Class 91.3 FM on Facebook. Go back, if you've missed this conversation, go back and go and watch it, Class 91.3 FM on Facebook. Until then, let's meet again tomorrow. The struggling man may have to continue with the journey. I'll be back. My name is Kofi Oponasama. Do you have a lovely day?